At a South London school, the Teaching Personnel Agency is running an after-hours mutual support session for some of their supply teachers.
Say, look, I know this is not normal, but I'm a supply teacher, so we're going to do it this way.
Yes, yeah. Do you find it difficult when you don't know the children's names when you arrive at a school?
Yes.
I was once asked by a teacher at the school, is it quite lonely to be a supply? Because, you go in to all these different schools and you don't really know anybody.
I'm not sure some people really understand what supply teachers do. Some people don't realise that supply teachers have to go in very often and teach something that's not even their subject.
Supply teachers, they're seen as people coming to grab the money and run away. So you're a bit of a nuisance to the school, although they need you, really.
But will they always? The landscape is changing, and this programme asks whether the workforce remodelling agreements are putting supply teachers' jobs in jeopardy. Lister Community School in East London. Andy Crocu's been here for 30 years. Has he seen the image of supply teachers change in that time?
The unthinking view of many teachers is that supply teachers are people who can't hack it in the classroom, which may once upon a time have had a grain of truth in it, and that does have to be said. So when people were levered out of the classroom, then often they would end up in the supply pool of a local authority, and they really weren't the most gifted of teachers.
Okay, thank you.
Over the last 10 years, the big change has been the growth of the supply agencies.
In Film 1, we followed experienced agency teacher Emma Clamp on a day's supply around Lister School. She can certainly hack it in the classroom.
Students have given out textbooks and folders. They've got their exercise books. There's some spare ones there.
For Lister's head of maths, it was the perfect supply day.
Yesterday I wasn't in part of the day, so I had a supply teacher covering my lessons. For me, it was one of the easiest supply lessons because I actually knew that I wasn't going to be here, so I could prepare the work accordingly.
Brilliant.
All right, thanks, Miss. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know whether it's going to be a maths expert or not, but when you know you're going to be away, it makes it slightly easier, I think, to kind of prepare them beforehand.
Right, look at that. That's 0.3. That's 0.1.
For me, I think it's quite important that they know that it's an important piece of work and it isn't just a kind of fill-in lesson, I suppose.
Okay, that's a 1. That's a what?
0.
That's a
0.
That one?
0.
So which is the biggest? That
1.
I've met lots of supply teachers who will really get involved with the students, who will actually work with the students and try, discipline the students and do things according to the school.
You've got 0.45.
I think it's a very, very difficult job.
0.405.
Andy certainly feels that standards of supply teaching have risen now that schools can pick and choose.
Many young people leaving teacher training are now having to compete for jobs, and therefore there's a better quality of supply teacher available to schools.
Good. 20 is how many?
There is now a much clearer business relationship between schools and the supply agencies. Now, that, in a sense, leads to a degree of quality control, because if the agencies are constantly told by schools, please don't send this person back, then that person doesn't get any work.
Some LEAs have set up new improved versions of the supply pool idea to compete in this new marketplace. Jan Fulwood was a deputy head, but now runs a not-for-profit supply agency for the London Borough of Brent, tailoring her services to the specific needs of individual local schools.
I think this is a good model for other authorities. The advantage of running a small service is that I know all my teachers individually. I know their strengths and weaknesses, and I know the individual character of the schools. And so the, if you like, the skill of the job is trying to match the schools with appropriate teachers and vice versa.
The not-for-profit nature of the business means she can pay teachers more and charge schools less than commercial supply agencies. One way she keeps costs down is by basing herself in the local schools themselves.
Anything that is going to save head teachers money has got to be looked at very seriously. However, head teachers don't want to sacrifice quality for saving money. And here you've got a scheme where you don't have to do that.
It really does start disrupting me.
But for all this, supply teachers are still under threat. The new guarantees on planning, preparation and assessment time could have meant a lot of new cover work for them. But the costs to schools could be huge, and at the same time, the rules on who can do this work have changed.
The recent legislation as far as planning, preparation and assessment goes, and also remodelling of the workforce, has changed the shape and the demand for supply teachers. The question is, when the teachers are planning, marking and preparing, who is taking their classes? I know many schools have gone for cover supervisors. Some schools are using advanced skills, teaching assistants. And some schools have gone back to the old idea of permanent, unattached supply teachers.
Back at Lister School, a permanent internal cover supervisor now does a lot of this work instead. Cover supervisors are not qualified teachers, but as long as work has been set, they can be in sole charge of lessons.
Look at the cartoons here.
We, at the moment, are employing one full-time cover supervisor. We're very lucky because it's somebody who has established links with the school, who the youngsters know, and therefore we're getting quite a good experience from that.
All right, guys.
Esme Gwenham could be the ideal cover supervisor. She's had some teacher training and she knows the school inside out.
The school and myself both came into this not knowing really what, a cover supervisor, what kind of experience or skills you do need. Right, Mr. Snyman's left instructions that you are continuing with your View from a Bridge coursework, OK? If you need help, don't waste this lesson. Use me, yeah? OK, so get your books out. I'm educated degree level, but apparently you don't really need a qualification to be a cover supervisor. Right, paper, go and get paper. I've been here for 2 years, so most of the kids know me. And I don't really tend to have, behavioural issues. I can deal with it in class. Get your jacket off. I'll tell their form tutors or their directors of studies about their behaviour, and that seems to nip it in the bud. It seems to do the trick. Right, seriously, because I'll have a word with Mr. October.
I'll be good then. I'll be good.
Okay, sort it out. For me, personally, they will do their work. They won't be having a free lesson or just getting away with not doing anything. They will be doing their work, and I'll go through their books and I'll help them out, and I will say, make the most of me. I'm here to help you. Don't sit back and just, chat rubbish, basically. Right, it might be an idea to pass over your work so that you can read each other's work and you can pick up mistakes that way. Yeah? They do treat me in a different manner. When I say, right, your normal teacher's not here, you'll get the yeah, or, woo. So that does sort of make me think that they like me, which I think is really important, because if they don't like you, they'll give you a really, really hard time. Get someone else to proofread it.
For permanent teachers, there are advantages to having your class covered by someone who knows the pupils, and someone they know will be there the next day and the next. But is this really better than an experienced, qualified teacher like Emma?
If I know that a supply teacher, somebody from outside school, is taking my lessons, then it tends to make it a lot harder. I tend to find that some of the students may not do their work, they may not get things completed, and then when they come back I may have issues to deal with, or sometimes there may be issues that go on that I don't really know about.
However good they are, supply teachers on day-to-day cover can't offer continuity, by definition. And they're expensive. Does Lister School see in-house cover supervisors as the way forward?
At the moment, everything's still brand new, and we're still trying to find our feet, as it were. And we're getting a lot of help from, from Newham, LEA. We are looking at going to other schools whereby they've got a team of cover supervisors, and we'll be seeing how it's been working in their school. And hopefully by, this time next year, we'd have an extra 2 cover supervisors, so we'll be running a team. What
schools are doing is experimenting to see what sort of people are able to carry out the tasks of cover supervisors. Who those people are in other schools, I don't know. The popular mythology is that they will be ex-policemen or women, ex-service people, people with a degree of maturity rather than young people who can be expected to have a presence in a classroom. I think the jury's out on who those people will be. But they will come from a variety of backgrounds.
Right, the rest of you, off you go.
Clearly, they're not all going to be as experienced and committed as Esme. So what does this say to qualified professional supply teachers and to teachers in general?
I think that many people feel quite bruised that they have spent a long time training and a long time building up strategies and so on, and often collecting lots of bumps and bruises on the way, learning from bitter experience. And people are now going into classrooms who possibly are ill-prepared to do that. Teachers know how difficult the job is. At the end of the day, it's the teachers and the senior managers that often end up as well picking up the pieces. It can be a false economy to put somebody in a classroom who is ill-equipped to be there in a variety of ways.
A team of in-house cover supervisors is one thing, but might schools be tempted to start buying in day-to-day cover supervisors with no long-term relationship to the pupils?
At the moment, we're not buying in cover supervisors, we're still buying in teachers. Clearly, cover supervisors are cheaper. If the evidence is that other schools are using bought-in cover supervisors and they're doing a reasonable job, then certainly we would consider using cover supervisors rather than teachers.
I would be very fearful if a school rang me up and asked me to provide somebody who wasn't a teacher, knowing that they were going to cover classes. I would be very fearful of that. Most schools, I think, would only want to do that under the controlled conditions. I would see that as probably a bridge too far.
Agency cover supervisors on day-to-day supply may be a bridge too far for some. But sooner or later, all schools will have to decide how to deal with workforce remodelling and its implications for lesson cover.
Clearly, as managers, we have to consider cost and we have to look to value for money. But the issue for us is the quality of experience that our young people get. There are no winners if we employ people who are unable to deliver something that's recognisably a lesson.
There's a love-hate relationship with school management. The ideal model for them would be to never have any staff sickness and for the school to work on their permanent staff. Now, we all know that that's an unrealistic model. There's certainly a diminishing requirement for supply staff. But I think agencies have to hold their nerve.
Know how to pronounce their names.
So is there a future for professional supply teachers?
Now, some schools have gone for the cover supervisor option, which obviously that's what suits them. I would say it's more important to have a supply teacher in school who is a trained teacher. Maybe they'll be doing general cover, so it may not be their subject, but the school is aware of that, and the class teacher would be aware of that if they're not going to be in the class. You can't not have supply teachers.
We're at an early stage of the academic year. The weather's getting worse, the coughs and colds are biting in. And come that Monday morning, my phone is still going to ring.